Now we are grateful to have Joelle with us. That sounds French, but she is coming from Canada, and she is living in Liberia, in Africa. And she will tell us a story about rain, story of rain, a story of clean drinking water. Okay, my dear, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. You've been drinking water. Rich killer exclusive. Holy faith, classic Avino. See a rabbit, but no rain not to it again. We can provide you water, safe drinking water. We can provide you water, and my people. We can provide you water, safe drinking water. We can provide you water, and my people. This company reliable, they're dependable, and accountable, and my people. This company reliable, they're accountable, and dependable, and my people. They are here, so believe us. They are breaking for the water. Connectivity for a feature. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. You gonna smile 'cause it's raining. Rainwater cool for your body. You might go down on your property. And we don't make you drinking water lazy. No more drinking from plastic. We produce natural water. We are about the water. If I really bring for the water. When the finger they got her. When they gotta get to the barrel. When they barrel get to the filter. When they better get to the faucet. They ain't ready for drinking. Just be free when you drinking. Yeah, I'll be no. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Don't rush. Every little thing we are getting even. We master conclusion and perfect quotation in every location. Who taught me about no rain, feeling can't tell me. I want tree, you want tree. Everybody hear me, I swear we want tree. Oh, Maggie be babolu. We can't make you water, you want tree so cool. Ella, you know can't get a cuckoo water. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Abanorino. I said we rain forever. Says Joelle Gordon and Uncle Chris. We want to appreciate you for bringing a new glass bottled water to Liberia. Shout out to Abanorino workers, Hazonic, Mr. John, Freddie Ball.
Good morning. Thank you very much for coming this morning. I was so afraid every seat would be empty. My name is Joelle. In Liberia, they refer to me as Sis Joe. I arrived in Liberia actually thanks to Rotary. I was asked by a Rotary Club to assist a local NGO in Liberia, which is in West Africa, with a global grant that they were receiving. My background is in banking. Oh, there we go. So when I first arrived in Liberia, I worked with women who were running small market stalls, and they were receiving microfunding, $100 loans. They were receiving training, making more money than they'd ever made before. And every week, somebody is coming to my desk, having to pull out all of their savings because somebody was sick or somebody had died. And I didn't understand how the death could be so prolific. Did some research and learned that 80% of that time, it was from water. Well, that really didn't make sense because the UN was in Liberia. Every major organization was in Liberia. Whoops, let's go back a couple here. Liberians hate the rain. It rains 280 days, 5 meters a year. And people do not have clean drinking water. And that seemed crazy to me too. And as a banker, I thought, to filter well water costs a lot more than to filter rainwater. There's no manufacturing really happening in Liberia, so it's not like we have an acid rain problem. It didn't make sense. But here's one of the difficulties that rain causes. This is my commute to work in the rainy season. Rainy season starts about the 15th of March, and it can go as far as the 5th of January. It's pretty crazy. This is not life. It's not. Water is life, but it is not life. Hauling water for many kilometers, children having to carry water, which means that they're not making it to school. That's not what is supposed to be happening. Has anybody ever thought about how the disabled get their water? This gentleman showed me how difficult it is for him to get his water. And in Liberia, the number of people disabled from polio, from accidents, and from the war it's a large portion of the community. This is life. This is what we want. That's what every Rotarian group that does a water project, this is what everybody is shooting for. And this is why I went from being a banker to being a water lady. Did a lot of research, carried water on my head. I was going to bring buckets and make people try it. It's not easy. It's humiliating. And children do it. I talked to a young woman yesterday from Uganda who grew up in a poor community, and she walked 5 kilometers to her water point and 5 kilometers back with 20 liters on her head. 20 kilos. 44 pounds for the Americans in the audience. This is what's in the water. You have E. coli, asbestos, fluoride, arsenic. There's way too much sodium. There's iron, contaminants. But this actually is the solution. So Liberia is in West Africa. It's actually that section in darkest green. Gets a lot of rain, but the rain's a problem. And when you drop wells in a place with a lot of rain, I'll get to that in a moment. But here are all the sections, all the countries within Africa that get a lot of rain. There are alternative options for water provision, and that's actually what I wanted to be able to show you today. Just in case you're not familiar with the hydrological cycle, generally, this is how water moves and how we acquire fresh water. And when it stops raining, when the hydrological cycle is broken, usually by deforestation and just clearing of land for farmland, we don't get the rain. The water table doesn't recharge, so wells aren't recharging, and it's just a cycle that ends up getting us nowhere. Enter rainwater harvesting. Again, Liberians, most West Africans, hate the rain. It brings everything bad in their lives. It brings malaria, because that's when the mosquitoes go crazy. It brings typhoid, dysentery, all sorts of viral pneumonia, all sorts of nasty bugs that give people runny stomachs. But did you know that 2.5 centimeters of rain on a roof that's 186 square meters will provide 4,732 liters of water? It's right there. And it's so easy to filter. Now, these are some of the issues that come along with rainwater. You do have to treat rainwater, but I prefer filtering as opposed to adding in. And the reason is, we are asking people with access to minimal education to understand the scientific ratios for chlorine distribution in their water. It's not fair. And the result is children who are consuming way too much chlorine, and they're getting very, very sick. During Ebola, because chlorine was the answer for everything, it was for hand washing, it was put in the water, entire villages were poisoned because people thought, well, if a little is good, a lot is better, and they would pour entire bottles into the wells and poison the wells, and people died from bad water. So this is what we do. We have a team of 20 young Liberians, amazing young people, and we build rainwater harvesting systems, anything from a 20-liter system to 40,000-liter systems. They work on clinics, they work on schools, they work on individual houses. They provide control over individual water. And most importantly, no more going out in the rain to get the water. A person will stand in line at a well for anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. And the mosquitoes are buzzing around, it's pouring rain, and then they have to fill up their bucket. And I've actually watched them dump the rainwater out of their buckets and put the well water in, pop it on their heads. I watched one young guy put an umbrella over his head and over the bucket because he was afraid the rainwater would get in the bucket. I've spent the last 8 years teaching people that the rain is safe, that the rain is a gift, and that the reason the rain causes a problem is because it's a gift that is not managed well. This is my dad. He's a retired oil and gas executive, but he loves woodworking. So he came for a couple weeks to train up the guys on how to use their tools, because the square does not live in Liberia. But in order to design water systems, you really need to understand the square. So we have school programs, we have individual house programs. The school programs, they're small. They're 200 liters. It's about introducing rainwater harvesting to children, and they go home with that idea to their parents. This is one of the systems that we put in last year. We did 150 schools last year, and for the first time ever, the children could drink water at school. Now, everybody's going to ask, but what do you do when it's not raining? Every system is actually made so that in the dry season, they can put well water or river water into the tank and be able to filter it as well. This gentleman here is, he's actually responsible for taking care of the school. So we spend a great deal of time training, because without education and training, the systems fail. Doesn't matter how beautiful a system we make, if we are not communicating well. And we learned a really tough lesson this year. We went into a school, and they've privatized education in Liberia. And we went into this school, and because a donor had donated the system, the school division knew, the principal knew. We arrived to do the installation thinking everybody was going to be so happy. The parents' organization showed up and said, "What are you doing here? Who said you could come here? Nobody talked to us. Are you telling us we can't take care of our school?" Oh, big lesson. Now we make sure that parents groups are always involved long before we go anywhere. Communication with people that like you think they'll just be happy to see it. It doesn't work. We've also learned to include everybody in the installation process. I have a 20% rule. 80% of the item can be paid for by a donor or through our NGO. 20% then has to be provided by the recipient. Now, some places in the interior where we work, there is no cash. So we sat down with our team and we said, okay, can you come up with 20% of the work that can be done by people who know nothing about this system? That way there's buy-in. It also really helps with maintenance because they were involved in the installation. It makes a very big difference in the success rate of the system. This is our office administrator, and every staff member was provided a system, and she actually decided to donate hers to her daughter's school. This is my favorite picture. I think it will always be my favorite picture because when I started 8 years ago, this is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to have happen. And he is so relaxed. Like he's just, yeah, I drink water from a faucet. You know, no biggie. It is a biggie. It's goosebump worthy. It's the first time at any installation that they turn on the faucet, I cry. I've never done drugs, but I'm guessing that it equates to what a high feels like. And it's why we keep doing this work. It's not easy, and we've made a lot of mistakes. My own arrogance when I came in thinking, oh, I'm from Canada, I have clean drinking water, I know everything. I knew nothing. Nothing. And every day I'm still learning. And 9.5 years I've been in Liberia. You'd think I'd kind of know what to do now. No. Every day. And if Liberia, West Africa has taught me anything, it's to listen. To try to put myself in their shoes. Failure to listen means a failure of the project. This is a clinic we did so deep in the bush that we drove on a paved highway for 2 hours, drove on a muddy dirt track for another 3.5 hours, parked the truck, had to put everything into a dugout canoe, cross the river, then get on a motorcycle for 7 miles to be able to put a system in at the clinic. And actually you can see the tank was too big to put on a motorcycle, so we had to have them take it out into the ocean. And my husband, who is my partner in this venture, had to swim out and push the tank to shore. But we'll do anything to give people clean drinking water. This is a home. I love the middle class in Liberia because they've actually started to embrace this project, and it allows us to bring in new staff for training. And they get, because the projects are bigger, so we can have more people working, and it really helps us keep the training costs down, subsidized by the people. What can you do to make a bucket of water, or to make it lighter? Add a faucet. It's that simple. Bill Gates, in 1980-ish, was asked what his goal was, and he wanted a computer in every house. And everybody thought that man was crazy. And look at us now. I just want a tap. Just a tap. Nothing big, nothing requiring electricity. But the main message I'm actually trying to get across here is, as Rotarians, if you're working on water projects, not everything works the same in every place. It's why a lot of systems have failed. If you go into a village that in Sudan, obviously rainwater harvesting is not going to work. It's not even going to be a part of the solution. However, if you go into a place that gets 3 or more meters of rain each year, and in Africa, there's actually 15 countries who fit that bill, You better be thinking about rainwater harvesting, because any well you put in the ground in rainy season, it's contaminated. The water table, they get way too high. The wells, because the water table rises and falls, the wells themselves shift. By the second year, the shift has caused breakages, and now it's just straight groundwater into those wells. They become conduits for poison. So do your research, talk to your people on the ground, and understand that we know nothing. We really have not. I've tried to walk many miles in many shoes in Liberia, and I still learn something new absolutely every day. It's very important that you're open to the information from your local club if you're doing global grants, if you're doing just an individual project, that you ask the people what they want. And sometimes they actually don't want you there. And you think we're doing such great work, but sometimes they just aren't ready. And that has to be okay too. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you learned a little something. Thank you. I do have a booth over in A4, 4806. I have flyers and things if you want more information. If you ever just want to email for information, thinking about working somewhere, I'm more than happy to share anything that I know. Have a fantastic rest of the week and weekend, and safe travels home.
Thank you very much, Joelle.
Thank you.
It was very interesting to hear you.
Thank you.
It was good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
I wish you luck with your project.
Thank you.
And luck in Nigeria. Liberia.
Liberia.
Yeah, sorry. Okay,
Thank you very much.